Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 10-Minute Book Talk, where three best-selling authors get together and chat all things books. I'm Katherine Reay, and as usual, I am joined with Rachel Linden and Marie Bostwick. Today, we have a real treat for you. We are chatting with Sonali Dev, and isn't this book gorgeous? I have to tell you, the insides are as fabulous as this cover, and you're gonna love it. So she's here to tell us a little bit about it, the Emma Project, and so I'm gonna hand it over to her. Welcome, Sonali. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Katherine. It's such a joy to be here. Hi, everyone. So the Emma Project is my homage to Jane Austen's Emma, and it is the last in a series about a politically ambitious Indian American family, the Rajes, who are the Indian Kennedys. That's the easiest way to. So they're immigrants descended from royalty in India. So this entire series is kind of an exploration of privilege and a commentary, social commentary. That's the piece of Jane Austen, and it's an homage. Each book is an homage to the lessons I learned as a young person from Jane Austen's books, which I credit or blame for who I became as an adult and as a person.
Totally agree. I can relate to that one.
Yes, we have to talk about that some more. So Emma is the last and final. It's gender swapped. It is about the youngest son who is very blessed with every privilege of our time, the way Emma was in Jane Austen's, but it has no matchmaking. So it really is, it takes the piece of Emma, which to me was not about matchmaking, but was about a person who has it all. So a person of privilege, a have, who believes she knows what is best for those who actually adopts a person of less privilege who is in love with someone and says, that's not the life I see as the life you should have. And so therefore, here are your other options. And so it is, I think, kind of almost my commentary or exploration into charity in today's world, because we are in a place where billionaires are giving away their billions. GoFundMe is a part of our life. So all of us who have more are using charity on a day-to-day basis, to change the world around us. And so it's more, and yet it is a rom-com and it's fun and it's sexy, but it is these two, these two friends. She's 12 years older than him, has been engaged to her brother. So it's these two friends whose life is about charitable causes and them making the journey into realizing what that means about the people they are.
Love it.
Oh, interesting. Sonali, I have read, I haven't read the Emma Project yet, but I have read all your books. You and I have known each other for quite some time. And the very first time I read you, I knew you were something special. You were such a beautiful writer. But my question for you today is when did you first fall in love with Jane Austen? When, what was that moment that just, and what made her books kind of stick to you?
Yeah, that's such a great and such an important question, because this has been a lifelong dream to pay homage to my 4 favorite novels. And ironically, I fell in love with her writing, or I was introduced to her writing through a retelling. So I was in 6th grade, and there was a Hindi, I grew up in India, in Mumbai, and there was a Hindi language TV show back in the time when there weren't 7,000 streaming channels, but 2 hours of TV a day. So it was a really big deal. And it was this beautifully translated scene by scene, character by character retelling. And when I was watching it, this was 84, I think 1984. And when I was watching it, it had a protagonist, a female protagonist, who was opinionated, who was contrary, who did not pander to either the aunties and the society or men to be liked. And I was literally it was the first time in my life that I was seeing what I believed about life naturally and about myself in a story. And it was the most, it just made okay to be me. It was that moment, and I was like, what is this? Because there weren't stories where women were asking for things and getting things. There was nothing in the other classics I was reading. There wasn't any of it in the epics. And so it was, and so I ran to my school library, checked out Pride and Prejudice, and then, Emma and Sense and Sensibility and Persuasion. And I do blame her for the person I became, because so many of my foundational beliefs were reinforced by her. And, it was almost a roadmap, just the way she saw her world, where it was okay to laugh at the world, and she saw the absurdity of the world she lived in, but she never crossed the lines of it. So it's a very interesting, that's why I think she endures across time, because she was able to do that.
Oh my goodness, I love that. Amazing. Isn't it amazing how those sticky stories when we're young and those role models that were written can become inspirations for our real life? That is, I'm sure Jane Austen would be very proud. So I'm curious, what were the challenges in taking such a beloved classic and one that obviously had impacted your life and modernizing it for making it modern and accessible and relevant to a modern reading audience?
Again, that, that would be, I get asked this a lot. And I think the trick for me that made it so easy and organic was that I was not trying to retell her stories. So I was not at all beholden to her stories. What I was beholden to was what I wanted to say. The seed for these particular stories were these things that I picked up in her books. So it was never about, it was never about, this is Elizabeth, this is Darcy, this is Mr. Knightley, this is Emma, but it was about, what did this story show me about life? And how does that translate into my world today? What does that say about this world we live in? I mean, Jane Austen was, of course, not writing historical fiction. She was writing contemporary fiction. And the best thing about her fiction was her take on the world around her. And so, I think that it was simple enough for me to translate those pieces of it. It's a take of, for me, it's a take on the world around me, where we are at this moment in time, and how little and how much has changed. So I was right from the beginning, these were my stories. So these were, and I went to architecture school. That was that's what I went to school for. And one of the things that I remember and that really stuck with me, one of our professors, design professors, used to always say that there are no original designs. So the reason and the importance of studying the masters is that those of us who are lucky get to pick up where they left off. So, and the trick in that is to not be beholden to the masters, but to take what they left behind and move it forward and bring ourselves to that and the needs of the world we live in. And so, that kind of, I think, was what I was doing with this series. So I never at any point felt, people who read it might feel, oh my gosh, why is this called a retelling? But I am very clear in my mind that it isn't. It is, it's a story of these characters in this time.
You struck upon something when you said, she described her world so well. I have always said that Jane Austen pinned human nature precisely, and human nature hasn't changed. So along with your themes of charity and how we think about that, you have pinned human nature beautifully in this book in multiple relationships. Could you tell us a little bit about, in all these different relationships, kind of the themes beyond your central theme you talked about that you'd like readers to take away? Because you've got some complex, sibling, father, daughter, mother, daughter, amazing relationships within this story that just bring it to life. Thank you. That's really great to hear. But I think, overall in this series, and definitely in this, I kind of wanted to tell an immigrant story that was different from what I thought was being allowed on shelves. So a lot of South Asian stories are always, poverty porn or displacement, narratives. And there is a place for that, because of course that is part of this. But there is a whole part of the culture, which universally is about families not having boundaries, about how much weight of expectation we carry, because of the worlds we're born into and what that does to us, right? And it's also an exploration of
immigration. So it is a family finding new home, and a family that isn't forced out of its original home, but chooses as an adventure, which is, I think, one of the things that makes America so great, is that we're literally built on people who chose adventure over over the other choice. It was, they chose leaving your home is a very, very big deal. And I think that we're either born nomads or a tree. Like I say this with my brother, he's a tree and I'm a nomad. Like I can, and so this journey of making a new home your home, political power feels to me like the last rung on that ladder. It's that last step where you say, I will now be making decisions. Yeah. And that's when you say, this is now my home. I get voice. And that, so here is a family that comes from having been royalty, having that taken away through colonization, then finding their, steps there. And yet this one brother choosing to bring, to come here. And then their oldest son is running for governor of California. And so the real themes are about, the weight of generations that I think are being carried. And then being the youngest son in the Emma Project, in this highly achievement, oriented family, here is a boy who has kind of dropped that fight. He's not picking that up. He's like, that's not who I am. And there are reasons why. And so it's, every story is the story of a character who's uncomfortable in their skin and trying to become comfortable, even though that's not what it looks like on the outside. And so that's the story of, and then again, the way that immigrant families raise their children, or any family raises their children. There are a million ways, right? And it causes certain trauma and it gives certain wings. And so, that is in Nana and Vansh, what has happened is so contrasting that being in each other's life, it's kind of making yourself okay in this world and reconciling the weight that we all carry.
Yeah. Well, readers, I have to tell you, we're wrapping up our time, but this is a treasure. So go grab the Emma Project. You are going to absolutely love it. And just to let you know, she said this is the 4th novel. She has In Sense and Sensibility, love that title, Recipe for Persuasion, Pride, Prejudice, and Other Flavors. And so this is the last of that series. I think they're standalone, but obviously coupled together.
Yes, I mean, they're absolutely standalone. You would start anywhere. The world is the same. So
perfect. I'm going to end with one last question, which we ask everybody. Sonali, what is making you happy today?
So my younger child, my daughter turns 21 tomorrow. She's a Memorial Day baby, and we are celebrating her birthday today. And her brother is throwing the party for her in the city. Mom is still bringing food, but I think the fact that my kids, are best friends and have that relationship, I think there is no greater achievement and no greater joy. So.
Absolutely agree. Thank you so much for being with us today. All the best with the Emma Project. And thank you all for joining us at the 10-Minute Book Talk. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.